Having a proper home is the most fundamental right that any person has, because without a proper home, your health is going to deteriorate. You're not going to be able to access education. You're not going to be able to access work. The other basic human rights are not available to you if you don't have a proper home. There are over 100,000 households, that's about 300,000 people, who do not have a proper home today. Some of them are living on the street. Some of them are living in grossly overcrowded houses, 3 generations of the same family in a 3-bedroom house, and others are living in conditions that are unfit for human habitation. Housing is the issue that faces Ireland today, and even the government recognises that. What the government is doing isn't working. The government introduced their strategy 9 months ago, and every single month since then, the number of homeless people keeps rising and rising and rising. We need them to go back to the drawing board. There are 2 problems with housing at the moment. One is housing those who need housing. There are almost 200,000 empty houses and apartments in this country. Many of them would be suitable for social housing. We call on the government to give incentives to the owners to bring those houses, empty houses and apartments, back into use, and if the owners fail to do so, compulsory purchase orders. Those houses lying empty are a scandal. The other problem is preventing the flow of new people into homelessness. There is a steady flood of people coming into homelessness. The government have got to introduce legislation to prevent. We need the government to introduce legislation to prevent the banks and landlords from evicting households into homelessness. That's a major cause of the increase in homelessness today. We need proper rent caps, not 4% per year for 3 years. Whose salary is going to go up by 12% in the next 3 years? The rent cap the Minister has introduced is not going to stop a lot of people from falling into homelessness. The question is not just a question of money, it's a question of legislation. Legislation to prevent. Unless we prevent more and more people coming into homelessness, housing homeless people is like trying to empty the water out of the bath with the tap still full on. We've got to turn the taps off, and the government have no strategy for doing that part of the problem. The big flaw in Simon Coveney's Rebuilding Ireland is that he envisages that 2 out of 3 people who need housing, social housing, will be rehoused in the private rented sector. People do not want to be rehoused in the private rented sector because they don't have security of tenure. A mother with a 5-year-old child going to the local school wants to be sure that she will still be in that accommodation when the child is 15 and going to school. And in the private rented sector, that is not available. We've got to provide social housing. Whether we build them or whether we take them from the empty buildings that are available doesn't matter. But we've got to provide social housing, that is housing that is owned or controlled by the state or a state agency, to give families that security of tenure which they require. Thank you very much.